Do 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 do. Hey, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob. Just checking in. I'm out in the deep green, out in the woods. Don't have enough cash. I have a few dollars to put in the gas tank, but not really. I'm waiting for my Social Security check. And the last week and the first week of each month is always pretty tight for me, so I would love it if someone could throw something in the old PayPal. That would help me out a lot. And remember, get a hold of me at the Dude Awake 42 at Gmail. The Dude Awake 42 at Gmail. The Dude Awake 42 at Gmail. All lowercase, all one strand, right? Dude Awake 42 at Gmail. And go to PayPal, throw something in there, and they'll say who to, and Dude Awake 42 at Gmail. So we had a nice little live chat yesterday. And there's a great radio program called Alternative Radio. And in my neck of the woods, it's every Thursday night at 9 p.m. And it comes out of Boulder, Colorado, alternativeradio.org. And they record lectures of really interesting people in universities all over the place. Guy who's been doing his name is David Banyanyavi, something like that. I don't have the teeth to pronounce all the syllables and vowels, but he's done a great, amazing job, and he always has somebody, Angela Davis, Norm Chomsky, you name it, he's had them, and left, right, center, up and down. I mean, he really has. So he had a guy named Tim, and he's a scholar. Oh, he's at Yale, or maybe he's not at Yale. I don't know where he is, but he gave the lecture at Yale, like in 2005 or something, and he was talking about the book by Hitler, um, Mein Kampf, right? And and then there was another one, another book that went along with it, and I read that in college, and and the teacher who was teaching it, it just was just, and this is what it says, right? But there was another guy who was a German scholar, and I wanted to read Mein Kampf in German. So I was trying to sharpen up my German, and this guy was really, and he was, um, a Nationalist Socialist scholar. He was Adolf Hitler scholar. He was all about that, and and so we had great discussions about Mein Kampf, and he said, the Nazis weren't what everyone, they weren't just a rabid, anti-Jewish entity, right? Because the real deal about Mein Kampf, if you read it, his major thesis is that humans are made up of different races to the point that they're different. Each race is a different species. The black species, the white species, and then the white is, different, Eastern European species, and so the German weren't. They were the Uberman, right? That's the species they were, and the human experience was this thing of constant conflict caused by angst or fear of not having enough, right? So humans were always invading somebody else's neighborhood and taking their stuff, and that was the human experience. That's what was going on, and um, the political national state was an anathema because he felt anything that wasn't Aryan, the Aryan race, the Uber race, was Jewish. And so there's this term, Jewish science. He thought that all science was Jewish, meaning, and so anything that was scientific that gave people breathing room so they didn't have to worry about being hungry um, was an anathema, right? You needed that conflict to like whittle down the human race to you got to the superior race, right? And that was the Aryan race. And so when you read Mein Kampf, you can see this very clearly. And then you see what they want So Germany had laws, had rules, had boundaries. And so it's quite interesting, Adolf Hitler gets elected and basically the National Socialist Party kind of takes over. And after, the burning of the Reichstag, they rewrite anything, but they still have laws. So it's really interesting in that, yeah, they had work camps, but they didn't kill people. They put people to work. And that's how they revitalized their industry and infrastructure because they had all these kind of like free workers. And it wasn't just, you know, um, Jewish folk, it was anybody who wasn't down with the Aryan race, right? And so, so people fit that, gypsies and homosexuals and Jewish people, they were all, so, but they didn't kill them. And between 1933 and 36, only about 300 Jewish people got killed. And it was more or less, in the getting arrested or this or that, they fell down the staircase or they got beat up too hard or, but they weren't out to just annihilate, to, what's the term, the, when they took out the Jewish folk, it was their, not annihilation, but I mean, that's kind of what they did. But the term in German means, um, that it's a burning offering, right? And they're talking about Ukraine. There's crimes against humanity and war crimes, and then there is this. It starts with a C, and in German it means to immolate somebody, to burn them as offering to the gods. And so the Germans didn't do that until they started invading other countries, and that's exactly what they did with Poland. They destroyed Poland. They destroyed it from being a political state to the point where it was just open anarchy. And who was the meanest, baddest was it. So the SS would go in there and they had a special group that would pick out the meanest, baddest people and say, okay, you can either die or be one of us, right? And so, as long as you were white, and fit the roughly the Aryan look, you were in there because they weren't really, there was no like, racial. Oh, I came from Hungary, or because as they went into these places, they disbanded those guide rails of culture, right? When they got the Sudetenland, they didn't make it Germany. They made it a no man's land of culture, and so by doing that, they could do whatever they wanted to because there were no rules or laws. There was no constitutions. There were no, you know, um, the guy who had the meanest, baddest attitude, and so that was it. So the Nazis, like the SS, they went around and just collected the people who were there, like in Poland. They went and collected the people who were because the Polish people wanted to get rid of the Jews. They didn't know how to do it, and why it took 6 years between 33 and 39 for them to attack Poland was Germany wanted Poland to be their ally because they were right in the way of going after Russia. Russia was their biggest because what the Germans really want, Lebensraum, the living room, the comfy space, the place they wanted the Ukraine, just like what's going on now, because the Ukraine is the breadbasket of Europe. It's the really most fertile place, and it's a big state, and they got a lot of other stuff. Now they don't have as many resources as oil, gold, uranium, blah blah blah, magnesium, earth elements, gas, you name it. Russia has all of that, and so that was why they were going to go in there. But they were going to wipe them all out. And so what was interesting was uh, Germany and Russia made a pact before Germany attacked Poland, and they said to Russia, "Okay, you can go after all these eastern countries, and you can have this chunk of Poland, and this is what we're going to do to Poland. You're down with that, and we're not going to attack you, and you're not going to attack us, right?" And so they did, and so Germany attacked Poland, which caused they knew that there were all these. It was just like World War One. There were all these things. So as soon as they went after, first England and France gave up the Sudetenland in Hungary to Germany to try and buy them off. And in sexuality, the English knew this was coming, and so did the French. As soon as Versailles was signed, they knew that Versailles was just a intermediate thing. World War I would start up again as World War II, and there was just a period of 20 years between the two. And the punishment in Germany was so severe that it forced, in the Roaring Twenties, Germany was starving, right? Because they have no land to feed themselves, right? They had to buy their food, and when they were crushed economically, and basically England and France just kept punishing them for those 20 years, that forced Germany into having Adolf Hitler, right? Because people, how did the smartest, most sophisticated, blah 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 country in Europe, pick Adolf Hitler? Well, because England and France forced them into it, right? Emotionally, psychologically. I mean, go watch the movie, or see the play, or read the book, Cabaret, and even though it's got some great songs and people are dancing with socks on, they really tell the story about how desperate. Because the cabaret was a place where people could go, do drugs, do alcohol, do sex, sell their children so they could get money or get food to feed the rest of the family. I mean, it was really, and that shows the level. That movie shows a level. But you got to watch it clearly, because you're wanting to hear the songs, and you get involved in the 4 or 5 characters. But if you see the peripheral of what was going on, that's what was going on. And what's very interesting is that we are having that same thing now. And there is this hidden hand, and a lot of people, oh yeah, I don't believe you're so out there, man. I constantly talk about, and so I'll call it what other people call it, and that's the unipolar hegemony, right? And George Bush called it, I see 1,000 points of light, a new world order, right? I mean, he said it, at the UN, so he was just talking about it, but it's been going on since Babylon. You go read, go to Dark Journalist, and I send people that guy's had to. I don't know what he's talking about, because they don't want to listen to it. They don't want to open their minds. And good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to Dreamy Dreamland. And this show isn't for people who are of a siloed belief structure. If you believe in this, that, or the other thing, you have to have an open mind for this show. So it's not for kids, not for people who are, I tell people, you're prejudiced. What do you mean? Some of my friends are black. No, no, that's racist. Prejudice is when you just believe in one thing and you don't have an open mind to, and you know, I don't want to diss children or infants to call it infantile or childish. No, it's because it's not that. It's just a closed mind. And in reality, most children don't have a closed mind. They have an open mind. They're trying to understand what's going on. They went from a really nice place, kind of, out to this, what the fuck is going on in this world, right? So, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Welcome to Dreamy Dreamland. I am your sensei, Al Bobby Griot, to tell you a story. So, if you go read Mein Kampf with an open mind, you will start to see this philosophy of, and it's beyond anarchism, because the racial motif, it's not just anti-Semitic or anti xenophobic of any different group. It's basically, it's our tribe, everyone else must die, right? And there seems to be a theme in the human experience, and people go, well, that's just human nature. Well, if that is hardwired into us, then we're not, with nuclear weapons and other technologies we're developing, and we're bringing AI online, right? And the thing about AI is that we prejudice, we program it, right? And all of the facial recognition and all this kind of stuff, law and medicine and anything that's a repetitive motif, is like prime for AI. And between 95 and 2014, I had this very interesting, consulting, you know, itinerant scholar. That was my motif. I got paid. I had a really interesting, um, work. Talent. Um, Toolbox, and I could do things for people who wanted the observation, the inside, looking at stuff without being prejudiced by their own prejudice. They were smart enough to know that they couldn't tell what was going on, and I told them, "Listen, I can give you my observations, but we can just kind of work out what part of that will help you because, um, you know, I'm not right. Don't believe a word I say, but it might give you some insight, and I might be able to, open up the hood of your endeavor, your enterprise, and tinker around in there to make it run better, right?" And so I did do that, and I got paid pretty good for it. Then I died in 2014, and when I came back, and then took 7 years to get myself into this shape, and like this morning's a good example. I kind of woke up around 7, and my body was, it was just, and my body is, it's like I'm a barometer. So when things change, I'm up in the mountains, and so pressure changes, fronts come in, move out. It really affects me. So I couldn't even move. I didn't. I had to meditate. Really focus on the dynamics of what was going on in my body. And it wasn't until around 10 in the morning that I could crawl out of bed. And I had to crawl back into bed and do it for another hour. So by 11, I was okay. Right. Then I had to walk around. I came out, walked up the hill, walked down the hill, walked over here, walked over there, did a little raking, did a few little things, this and that, and the other thing, and then I was better. And then I had breakfast around 12:30. I had some oatmeal, and so I'm pretty good to go. But still, whatever that was that gave my body the funk. Um, and I took my blood sugar and my blood pressure, and it was still okay, but it had elevated from yesterday when I was feeling pretty good, right? Yesterday, my blood sugar was around 95, which is very good, and my blood pressure was, 118 over 68, which is very good. Now it was 124 over 75, which is not bad. But and part of it is that when I sleep, I go into this kind of very interesting, um, you know, conscious dream state where I, do what is known as remote viewing, and I was watching the horror of not just Ukraine, but Yemen and all the other. The next what I really saw that was like, oh man, it really bothered my poor little body was so I was reading Mein Kampf again last night and looking at one of my notebooks from that time. And so when I went to sleep, I had all these dreams about how all of that hell, and if you go see the movies, Stan Lee was up on top of this, and all his Captain America movies are right about what's going on, especially the first three movies, especially the first two. That's exactly where we are, meaning the Nazis are in every government, they are running the show, National Socialist Party came through Operation Paperclip into America. And then by 1947, we had the National Defense Act, which changed America. And that's why Eisenhower gave that speech when, he was hours, Jack Kennedy was about to be sworn in about 8, 6, 7 hours or 5 hours or 4 hours. I mean, Ike was heading out of town and he had seen so much that he just wanted to be able to say, a little speech. And if you watch it, he stumbles through it because he knows he's like looking if someone's about to shoot him. But he knows that he gives that speech and then goes and spends the rest of his life on the golf course. It'll be okay. And he will have, go down in history for, at least saying, watch out for the military industrial complex, meaning he didn't go for the, watch out for, Captain America, Hail Hydra, military industrial complex. And Ukraine is, we have dumped in less than half a year almost $1 trillion into arming Ukraine. And it's going to, a lot of people are going to die. The place was really nice. You should go see some images of what Ukraine was before the war happened. And we basically, and I keep saying this, and these other quote unquote scholastics who call me up and want to, what do you think it is? You know, and they're all about how, you know, NATO and the West, has been, punking Russia for the last 30 years. Well, that's true. But Russia was in on it, and that's what I'm saying. Is Putin, reading the script, or did he flip the switch? Meaning, is he just psychotic? Because you see him when he's at the long end of this like yesterday, he had the UN, the head of the UN at one end of and he's like, the other end of the golf course, and it's this white room with gold and like ridiculously opulent. And the guy was trying to say, hey, why don't we just get all the innocent people out of harm's way? And Putin's going, don't you know, blah 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 blah. So he's either psychotic or he's reading a script, and people don't want to hear that, right? Well, he's very, this is all a plan. He's doing it on purpose. Blah 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 blah. It's like, please. And what really this is to kick off, and we keep having the kickoff. We had the kickoff of 1947, the national security state in America and the Constitution. That's when we went into martial law. And then we had Jack Kennedy get, and in that in 47 to Jack Kennedy, we had the anybody said anything wrong was taken away. In the 50s, everybody got blackballed, blacklisted. It was hard times. I remember having one of my favorite teachers, his father. He was, Guadalcanal, and then he was there in Europe too, and he's a serious war hero. And he, anyway, so he got war ends. But when he was in college, he kind of flirted with, being a socialist. He went to a few meetings. Well, he got blackballed. He got destroyed. He got his life, crapped and just. And the guy had a nervous breakdown and ate his gun. And my teacher, at the time, he's still a young man. He's just out of college and he's being a grammar school teacher. And he came, the next day he comes back, and his father, he's like really off the hook, upset because he came home from teaching us to find his father's brain splattered all over the living room. And that was the 1950s. And then the 60s, Vietnam War, and we had been in the Vietnam, people don't realize we had dumped so many weapons in Southeast Asia ready to go after Japan that, and we dropped a bomb on the Japanese wanted to, for a year, was suing for peace, but we demanded certain things that they couldn't do. Like we wanted them to, give up the emperor, and it was their god, so it was kind of hard for them to do. But they were already beaten, and we were bombing them. Curtis LeMay was bombing them from 35,000 feet in the B-29. These guys were in short sleeves. Everything was on automatic, and we just incinerated Japan. With fire bombs and concussion, we just obliterated Japan. We turned it to dust, right? And we were waiting for us to finish the atomic bomb so we could use it. We saved Hiroshima and Nagasaki. They were non-military places. They were places of art and culture, and we didn't touch it at all because we were saving it to use the atomic bomb on, because they were our lab rats. And we had people on the ground outside of ground zero, outside of the right, but we had people in there in hours taking, subjects and documenting what happened, and then got back on the boat and got out of there, right? And then days later, they, finally said, okay, and we gave them an easier way out. You know, they didn't have to hand the emperor over. We just had to take over, and they were happy to do it, right? And so we have been doing this. I mean, since Christopher Columbus, we have been doing this idea of the racial superiority, meaning the Pope back there in the back when we were having crusades. He had a papal bull saying that um, if you go into a foreign land and these people aren't Christian and aren't white males, you can take their property. You can treat them like they're animals. You can treat them like they're inanimate objects. Just kill them, and God is happy with it. You're doing God's work. And we had gone on with that. Uh, hey there, JT, Janie. And so this whole racial thing, and see, there is no race. There's only races aren't different species. I'm an African American that's melanin challenged. Human being is the species. Homo sapien sapien. That's the species. Not white people, not black people, not African people, not Asian people, not indigenous. We're all Homo, and basically indigenous folk who are artists in the first person, the real, who's as close to love's co-creationist you can get. Because when Europeans came in and found indigenous people, they were not warriors. Now, they were kick-ass folk. They had a warrior class, but those guys wouldn't go in and demolish another tribe and take their stuff. They would have games, where yes, in the game you could kill the other warrior, but it was a test of their gameship, right? That's what the cross was. And in South America they had a lot of games of that nature, and so you know, but they did not wipe out grandma and the kids and everybody else, right, and take their stuff. No, only Europeans did that. And that is the real problem, is that Europeans seem to have a virus of this uncontrollable fear, and which brings to anxiety, which brings to anger, which brings to I want to kick your ass and take all your stuff and kill you. And I'm going to kill you because there's part of me that feels bad about doing this. But by killing you, you won't be here. I won't see you, and I'll just have your stuff, right? And that is, if you read, Hitler's little book there. And he's got two of them, book one and book two, and that he wrote in jail. And somebody else wrote it for him. Hess was there, and a few other of the boys. And when they were in jail, after trying to have a pooch, they were like put in a 5-star hotel. They were not, in a bed. They were like wearing, just nice clothes, and looked like they were up in the mountains, and they could walk around, and there were no bars. They weren't locked in. They just had to stay there. But that's when he wrote Mein Kampf and book two, and put together the working plan of what they were going to do. It was like part of it, and there were elements there that were, you know, helping them create this motif. And that is the hidden hand. That is the Hail Hydra. Go watch those two movies, so two Captain America movies, right? Where he starts out, before World War II, and Bucky, his buddy, and he's in Brooklyn, and he's a little shrimp, and then he is turned into the Uberman. But the scientist who creates it, he's looking, he doesn't want the big bully to be turned into the Uberman. He's looking for a guy with a really good heart, because that's what counts. The emotional clarity of love's co-creation. And so that's what it was about. Lana, hey baby, good to see you. I'll give you a call sometime this weekend. I know you're a working girl during the week, so tomorrow or Sunday. And Sunday's May Day. Workers, IWW, Wobblies, International Workers of the World, unite. Of course, the CIO took it over, and our U.S. government, the guys who started the International Workers of the World, because they took anybody, didn't matter what color, white, black, yellow, didn't matter, Indian, not a problem, woman, not a problem. Everyone was a brother and sister, and the control class didn't want that. They wanted people to be at each other's throats. So the Teamsters and the CIO, they were, always about class difference, right? Yeah. So war can never be. I mean, we lost the war. Basically, Germany was bombed into the Stone Age. The Nazis, the Catholic Church, and the Queen let a million Nazis escape. The rat mine. Go look up the rat mine. And we, in the United States, we bought 70,000 cases of Nazis. Wernher von Braun was one of them. Oh, Wernher, you were doing nice. He always wore a suit rather than his SSU. And, they came in, basically, the CIA, the NSA, all of that, back in North State in 1947, that, when we used to call the Pentagon the war department, right? At least they were honest. About war, we're going to take everyone's head. Then they turned it to the defense. Everything that our government is doing is always clear. No child left behind. So it's prepared to put every kid behind the war on drugs. Many places you have to kill everyone. Everything is realistic. The only thing that will save humanity is love. That's the real problem because we have this thing going on. The only thing that is truly real is love. But that diluted materialistic world has conditional love. The real love, the only love that exists of co-creation of one love, is unconditional. And the only way you can, have a life worth living is have that unconditional love in your heart, right? Burning brightly. And having that unconditional love as forgiveness is understanding of the other in your mind. So when shit goes down in your little, squirrel cage up here, instead of going, oh, and I'm going to kill that guy. Oh, I feel so, instead of that, which is like nipping at our toes all the time. And so, like, why I woke up or couldn't wake up, or why I was because I felt this angst of the world inside of me. And because I was reading Mein Kampf in my notes, from 1973, and so that was pumping around my head because I'm now switched on to hey Lana, send me, and Jane too, both of you send me an email to the Dude Awake 42, and I'll send you. When you on your screen, you kind of push the shit you don't want to see on your screen over to the side. That's what I do with the bad thoughts, right? Just don't focus on them. So, if you guys send me in the next 10, 15 minutes, um, um, you know, that I will email you a copy of my it's not the first final edit of Ear Hair, the anthology, right? It's about 197 pages. So it's not too big, not too long. It's kind of interesting. You might have to get drunk or do acid to read it, but you'll definitely have to suspend your disbelief. So, yes, autocorrect makes you stupid. So, I don't use that, and I try to spindle mutilate spelling. Did you know that spelling in the English language is actually a spell? That all of those, why English is made from German and Spanish and Old English and all that, because they take all of these old, um, mm, Celtic myth slash mystery school slash um, alchemist slash um, technology, and put it in just like Hebrew is. Hebrew is each letter is a number, and so each letter of every word is a whole algorithm, and so it's and that's what when you study Kabbalah of the Hebrew, that's what you're studying. So legacy is going to be about all of that and how it kind of has control over it. Why I don't use grammar as a yardstick to define or measure what I'm talking about, and I don't use and I watch out for spelling because it's like the who needs to wear two glasses to see anything, who can barely walk, how can I intimidate? And this guy's like big. He's like, a ranger, army ranger. And he's got, his big bulldozer, and he came up to my house with his, I'm gonna get you. It's like 8 feet up in the air. I'm just standing in front of like that guy in China who's standing in front of the tank with his like groceries. It's like, really? I intimidate you? In actuality, I do. Just being me. And back in the day when I lived in High Point, I was a newspaper photographer, and I was taking pictures of the mayor and the governor and all these people that kind of knew me. And I would take the picture, and when it showed up in the newspaper, they looked really good. I said, "Wow!" And so I would, can you take a picture of our family? Sure. So I got to know all those guys. They take me out to dinner, they take me to the meetings and all the rest because I wanted to know what was really going on. And I never spilled the beans. But yeah, I was always me, and that was when I was like, 19, 20 years old. And I remember everyone ate at this black restaurant because it was the best food. I was in the black neighborhood, right? And I used to build restaurants. So when Sarge took me there, the first time I met him, and I photographed the murder, and I was doing it like Ouija, and he said, no, 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 we don't do, no, you got to do it this way. So he taught me how to be a forensic photographer. But anyway, uh, he took me out. He said, "Okay, well, you did a great job. Let's go have coffee and pie." It was like 3 in the morning. I said, "Place is open at 3 in the morning." I mean, towns usually. I said, "No, no, I'm taking you to a special place. It's called the Pink Teacup, black neighborhood. Place never closed." And so, I went with Sarge. We had pie, and then we had breakfast, and then we had lunch. And we got there at 3 in the morning, and we rolled out around 11. You know? He was like a really tall hobbit. He just kept eating. And so he liked me, and I never, I was always like people would scratch their heads, but and so that was my place. I went there with all the guys to have breakfast, lunch, or dinner, or a piece of pie, or whatever. And so after a week or so, I'm there, and this the lady who owns it, right? Was it grandma, but what was her? It's named after a flower, magnolia, maybe. Anyway, really kind of short, but really wiry old lady. She could have been 190. And she starts screaming and throwing pots, and she's like, I'm just watching her walk by around the kitchen, and I get up and I walk past the counter into the guy. I said, man, what's calm down? What's wrong? It's refrigerator. It's always freezing. Ah, blah, blah, blah." And I said, I think I can fix it. So why no one can fix it. It's like ancient and nobody wants to touch it. It's run by ammonia. Blah 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 blah. Blah. Okay. He said, but you know what you're doing because the ammonia will kill you. I said, I think I got it covered because I used to fix refrigerators just like that in New York for Hotel Bar and Butter, and they were all put in there between 1900 and 1920. They're all run by, and they're gigantic refrigerators, like the size of a loft, right? And like 4,000 square foot refrigerator, not cubic feet, square feet. Anyway, so I knew what was wrong, and they're in the regulator. There's this little coil of wire, and if it gets too close, it's supposed to measure the temperature. But if it touches the pipe that's bringing the ammonia, it freezes, and then it doesn't work. So, I said, "So, do you have a little teacup? A little teacup. This place is called a pink teacup, China." I said, "Well, give me some hot water, not boiling water, but hot." Just hot from the where you do the dishes, yep. So I do that, and I just put a couple of drops on that little coil, and so I just kind of move it out. Like I said, you got like a towel or a napkin. You got a real cloth napkin. Oh yeah, so I do that so I don't freeze my fingers, and I just kind of move it over that, and then I say, "So, do you have a fan?" Like a table fan, And she goes, "Well, I got a stand fan, goes on the floor." I said, "Good, bring it over here." Put it on it and pointed at the that space, plugged it in, turned it on. I said, "Okay, about 2 minutes." And then the refrigerator snapped on and worked. I said, "So just keep this fan. We're going to push it back maybe 4 or 5 feet. And when that little coil starts, instead of looking like copper, starts to turn a little white, turn on the fan." She goes, "That's it." I said, "Yep. That's all you had to do." I said, "Yep. I spent, last year spending hundreds of dollars getting guys to try and fix it. And that's all it is." I said, "Yep." And she goes, "Who are you?" We introduced. Anyway, she walked me back, and the mayor was there, and the chief of police. And this guy is great. I'm so glad he's here. I'm so glad And my boss, who owned the newspaper, she's just going on because everyone ate there, right? But it was right in the black section of Hap. So anyway, you know, I became her best friend and I kept fixing stuff there. And so after about a month of me fixing stuff, she goes, "Listen, I want to show you something." So she took me upstairs and there was what was the speakeasy back in the day, right? And it was still everything was like wood and velvet and but nobody, pool tables and really big and the girls were there, so there were bedrooms and had its own little kitchen and a really nice bathroom, couple bathrooms. And she goes, "You can stay here for free and eat for free as long as you keep my kitchen running and fixing everything. Because no one can fix it. You can." I said, "Great." Because I was living at my my supervisor's couch, right? And he could be obnoxious. And so I had this gigantic, nightclub to live. So I kind of, I built a nightclub, so I cleaned it up. I turned it kind of into and started having parties there. And there were a lot of great black musicians and white musicians had them there, and kind of turned it somewhat into a speakeasy, but more way down low. Anyway, a month or so goes by, and and I come down from upstairs in my bathrobe and bunny slippers, and sit down at the counter with the mayor and the chief of police and a few other movers and shakers, and everybody kind of looking at me. And they said, "Al, we heard you were living up here, but I said, "What's wrong?" "This is the black neighborhood. You're not supposed to live in the black. You guys spend your whole day here. You eat here 3 meals a day. I just get to eat before you. That's all. What's the big deal?" And it's keeping her happy, right? She's not screaming at you. She's not yelling at you. Everyone's getting along because I'm keeping her kitchen humming along. And the mayor says, "Al, we love you, but if there were more of you, we'd have to kill you." And that's pretty much it. That's kind of what I've experienced my whole life. People love me, but I can drive them freaking nuts, right? And at a certain point, you intimidate me, just me intimidates them. Look what I do to poor John, just being me, trying to help him, being his only real friend, you know, he loves me, and then at certain points he kind of can't handle it, right? So he's out on the road, and he kind of drove right by, right? And I kind of felt that he was, but I couldn't get a hold of him. But if he had drive by and I met him like down the side of the road, I would have gone with him. And he's out there all on his own. God knows what's going on. I hope he's okay. Let's all say a quick prayer for John Boy. Right? Let's do it. So, phone acting up. Yeah, I know. I've been having issues with that myself. And again, I'm out here in the woods on someone's driveway who gave me the code to their Wi-Fi, and I'm not in the house. I'm kind of, you know, I don't know, 20 yards from it, and so it works, but it can be, problematic. And also, there's a front moving in, so God knows what that's doing to it all. So anyway, I just wanted to. How long are we talking? 46 minutes, right? So, Lana, are you are you there for a phone call? I can give you a buzz, and you can be the guest. We had a nice guest yesterday. Um, and I'm experimenting with TikTok. That's perhaps and they only give me 3 minutes, so I really have to figure out how to do TikTok. So let's see. I'll give you a call, Anna. See if you answer. Let's see. Viber, Viber. Oh, that's what we're on. Accept to continue. Okay, I'm continuing. I'm accepting. There you are. Let's see if Lana can pick up. Do, 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 do. Yep, send prayers to John. Oh, she's probably working. She's not picking up. So, love you, Lana. I'll call you, like I said, either tomorrow or Sunday. Okay. Uh, what else? So that's kind of where we're at, right? So you girls send me your email, and because you probably already have. Oh, she's calling me. Hey there. There she is.
Hello.
There she is, girlfriend. You at work or are you free to
I'm
talk?
actually with my Colombian boyfriend.
Oh, hey, boyfriend. Good to see you.
Hey, what's up, man?
Oh,
Nice to meet you.
I'm doing a live chat, and right now it's all quiet on the Western Front, where I live in a place that has been like heaven for 18 years, and now the rich people are coming and ripping it apart. And so I'm feeling all the sorrow of the animals. I'm feeling the anger. All the angry nature spirits are popping up and doing crazy shit, and I am
I
feeling
understand.
all the craziness of all the wars, Yemen, the shit that's going on in the Ukraine is so fucked up, and it's nothing as it's being
That's
advertised, and everyone's
that's
being
crazy.
everyone's being taken for a ride, and so
Mm.
because the only thing that can truly fix this is love, right? Unconditional love.
Yeah,
That's the only thing.
love is the important stuff for the world.
Yes, it's the only thing that is. And the problem is,
Yeah.
everyone views love as conditional love, meaning I'll love you if you love me. I'll do this for you if you do this for me, you know? And that's not how it
Yeah,
works,
that's true.
you know? And so that's why everything is as fucked up it is. There she is. Look at that face. Look at that smiling face. You know, buddy, you make her happy, you know? Whoops. Man, they disappeared. Come on back. Come on back. They're back. They're back. So I'm in a place where things are dropping in and out, you know? So that's what's happening. So there they are. The happy sweeties. The happy sweeties, you know? And they are happy
Not
sweeties.
that happy, actually.
Yes.
It kind of sucks over here.
Well, that's there, but not between you two. Between you two, all I see is love, you know?
This is fucking Colombia. Albania. I mean, like, how did we meet each other? That's weird.
Well, you know, it's not weird. No, it wasn't weird. It was just meant to happen. It's not weird. It's just meant to happen. You know? And you know, Colombia is, you know, Colombia is an amazing culture, you know, and
It's a nice place, you know. It's
oh, it's an amazing place. The only thing that fucked it up was the CIA, you know. So all I can say to you guys is focus on the love that you feel for each other and spread it like peanut butter on everyone around you.
You hear that? Do you hear that? She's my peanut butter.
Yes, she's your peanut butter. Yep. Oh. My first wife, she could only have sex. My first wife was all about makeup sex, right? And so she would always try to argue, and I don't argue. And so in high school, I was a wrestler. So I got a wrestling mat and about a 25-gallon can of Crisco, and we greased each other up. And instead of yelling at each other, we went Greco-Roman, and that's what made our yes, and that's what gave the life to our marriage for another 8 years. If we didn't do that, we would have gotten divorced then. But I said, listen, honey, I can't argue. That's not me. You should know this. And so I said, and I went and got a wrestling mat and Crisco. And that was the key to our love life. You know, we'd take our clothes off and grease each other up and go Greco-Roman, and then she'd jump my bones, you know. So get some peanut butter or Crisco and go to it, you know. That's,
Yeah, I'll
yeah.
try, but she's so pleased, you know.
Yeah, of course she is.
I don't have to worry about here.
Well, you know, as long as it's not caustic, you know, it's just, you know, make it so it's sweet and soft. It's all good, right? I didn't realize how long my beard is.
It's perfect.
My beard's getting long.
Are you kidding me? Why are you looking at me like he's looking at me like I'm having a gun in his face? That's weird. That's a weird look.
Well, girlfriend, you are a mobster. You're like the mobster of love, you know? You are the mobster of love, you know? I mean, look at that smile she's got. Look at that smile. Look at that smile. I mean, if that ain't the face of the mobster of love, I don't know what is, you know?
Come on, dude.
Yep. So anyway, so that's what's going.
How's the weather?
Oh, it's how's the weather? The weather is changeable. Right now, the fog is kind of moving in. It got pretty warm, and then the clouds moved in, and now it's getting cold. So the fog is moving in. So there is a gigantic storm in the west, and it's coming our way. And so, yeah, but our mountains are like the sort, you know, it's like a big comb, and the weather cruises in across the plains and then hits the mountains here, and either bounces to the south or bounces to the north. And very occasionally does it really affect us in a bad way. Yeah, that's
I know you have experience.
right. It's no
You
big.
should, I mean, like in Sweden, we don't have that.
Yeah, I know.
So
So what's happening in Sweden? I mean, do, 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 do. Uh, again, having trouble connecting. There you are. You're back.
There you are.
There you go. You're back.
I'm back.
So what's
Back in place.
shaking in Sweden?
Well,
Are people freaking out about war?
really, of course.
Of course. But you know.
Sluta då.
Hmm. Let's see if they call back. Hmm. Anyway, I'm about to go myself. I got things to do, and it looks like it could rain any second. So I'm gonna get back. So put the glasses on so I can see. Ugh. So anybody? Oh, there she's back. Okay, we're back. There you are.
When somebody calls for the phone line,
Yes, cuts it off.
then Viber shuts off.
Right, I hear that. Yep. So anyway, I'm gonna go.
Sorry, but
No problem. I just love seeing both of your sweet faces. So. Yep. Yeah, there you are. Yep. So, okay, buddy. I will. Again, send me a little email. The dude awake 42 at Gmail, and I'll send you a copy of my novel. Okay. You got my email, right? There she. Look at that smile. So I'm gonna go. Okay. I'm gonna go. Okay, honey, I'm gonna go. Okay, sweetheart. So you have my email, right? Lana, you got my email, right? Well, send me something so I can send you my novel. I want to send you my novel. Okay. I'll speak to you later. Okay, guys. Yep. Go get some Crisco, some peanut butter. Have a good time.
Really?
Anyway, that was fun. So 58 minutes, and at 58 seconds, I'm gonna jump out here. So okay, trying to talk to you guys tomorrow. This was a fun little um, time with you. Okay, I love you guys. Stay well. Remember PayPal. Remember the dude awake 42 at Gmail, and I'll catch you later.